I started drinking alcohol when I was about 11, 12 years old. Started smoking pot a couple years after that. About 14, I started doing methamphetamine and started IV using at 16. But I was an IV user for about until I was 30 years old. You know, it's to help anybody that's struggling with that. And anybody that I would talk to back home, I would definitely recommend to come to Synergy. Like, if you're struggling with drug addiction, this is a good program to be in, because it gives you the tools in order to move forward, you know, and not just be stuck where you're at, you know, because when we're in our addiction, it's really hard to get out of that rut.
Hi, Joe.
What's up, Missy?
What brings you to Synergy?
Well, a long history of drug abuse. You know,
How old were you when you started using?
I started drinking alcohol when I was about 11, 12 years old. Started smoking pot. As the years, a couple years after that, about 14, I started doing methamphetamine and started IV using at 16.
You started shooting up?
Yeah. That was I was an IV user for about what, until I was 30 years old. You know.
And how old are you now?
Now I'm turning 33 this year.
Okay.
So I'm going on my third year without being an IV user, and probably when I was 30, 31 is when I started doing heroin and fentanyl smoking. I never IV used it, but smoking heroin and fentanyl, and about 3 months of that was pretty bad. I overdosed on New Year's Day of 2023.
Okay.
And 13 days later, I went to rehab. Um, Kept on messing up after that, you know, and then came to California to get my life straight, you know.
And how did you find out about this particular program?
I had a couple friends that had came here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they said it was a really good program, and so far it's been a pretty good program. I mean, the sober living house that we're at we have a really strong fellowship, probably, and I've been to a lot of sober living houses, and I've been to a lot of programs that's not the case at all, you know. So I mean, it's really good to be in a place where, you know, we could all talk to each other at any given point in time about any problem that either of us have, whether it be in the house or outside of it. So
So do you mean the community itself
Yeah.
that you have at the house is good?
yeah.
And how is like the vibe at during group time and all of that? How are you liking the structure of the program itself?
I like the structure of the groups. You know what I mean? They
What's
give a
your
lot
favorite
of
group?
information. What's your favorite? I think you already know that one. Your group would have
Tell
to be
the
my
folks at home.
yeah. Your group would have to be my favorite group, because there's a lot of you know, there's not just information that we're given. We're also given a little bit of leisure time. You know, we could talk about stuff. We could color. You know what I mean? That's like, you took us to the Getty last weekend, so it was kind of like, you know, we get a little bit of leisure time too. So
Yeah.
all the group facilitators are really very well educated, I do believe. But your group is my favorite group. Yeah.
Thank you. But so I like to, change it up. I like to keep it interesting, and so a lot of times there is a point to what you think is leisure time that's actually, learning how to live life on life's terms.
Yeah.
Like integrating you guys back into society, into community. A lot of times it's kind of scary to go back out in public after we've isolated ourselves for so long,
Oh yeah.
and beat ourselves down with all that negative self-talk and the irrational beliefs that have been passed down through generations, like we were just talking about in group. And so it takes practice, so doing it in a controlled environment like that, when you're safe and you've got your people around you, and it makes it a little bit easier, every day to do it on your own eventually, and then help somebody else do it.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the whole point in being here too. Is it's part of. I mean, I know that's not part of a lot of people's recovery, because you need to focus on yourself, but for a little while. But part of it in the end is to help the suffering addict. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's everybody that's suffering, especially if you're in an AA program or an NA program, CA, which, Cocaine Anonymous or whatever your addiction is,
Right.
really, it's to help anybody that's struggling with that. And anybody that I would talk to back home, I would definitely recommend to come to Synergy. Like, if you're struggling with drug addiction, this is a good program to be in, because it gives you the tools in order to move forward, and not just be stuck where you're at, because when we're in our addiction, it's really hard to get out of that rut.
Yeah.
Like, it's
to step off that hamster wheel, huh?
Yeah, it feels like you're just stuck in a tar pit.
Yeah.
And you're just, or quicksand, and you're not going anywhere. You're just sinking.
Like Groundhog Day every day, It's the same but a deadly Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
it's like, one day you're not coming out of that hole again.
Exactly. And this was a really good way to get out of that rut, get out the tar pit, wash yourself off and, start doing something with yourself. That's how I see it.
I like that analogy a lot. I guess you most of the time people come in so broken, so self-defeated, and with hardly anything to live for, it feels like at times. Yeah. So, my goal is to show you guys the amazing people that you actually are, and then help you implement the tools that you've learned. You went to a residential
detox? Yes.
A detox, so.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best detox I've ever been to in my life.
What was the name of that one?
St. Lawrence Recovery.
Okay.
And it was in the San Fernando Valley, which it was Valley Village.
Okay.
So it was really.
What did you like about it there? What was so good about it?
The best thing about it was that not only do they take couples, you know what I mean, which is, was a really big thing for me, because back home it's hard to find a place that'll take couples, you know what I mean, because they don't really want to.
There is some, reasoning behind it, right?
But the best part of it is that it's kind of hard to tell you what the best part is. It was all really good, you know what I mean? It was just
the relief of being off the hamster wheel itself, right?
And it's comfortable, you know what I mean? If you're not in a room full of people, if you're in a room with someone, you only share it with one other person, you know what I'm saying? And if you're not in a room with someone, you have your own room, you guys have your own TV. You know what I mean? They have like Netflix, stuff like that. Not only that, they take you out on outings. They have a pool.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Like,
and the detox.
Yeah, and on top of that, when you've been there when you're off the actual detox part, and you go into the what is it?
The residential.
The residential part. They'll take you to meetings every day. You know what I mean? So you're not just stuck there the whole time. You get some time to go out and meet people, meet sponsors, just get a feel of how the town is, because, a lot of people haven't been out this way, where I'm from, and I'm from Oklahoma. So it's like a lot of people haven't been out that way, this way,
right. It's kind of a culture shock in a way, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons. And so, building a community support system is a huge part of your foundation no matter where you are in recovery. But it's nice that you were able to go someplace where they kept you comfortable without too much pressure, because in the beginning, what you need the most is to actually rest, right?
Yeah, and until you're off a detox, they don't want you to do anything. Really. They don't want you washing dishes. They don't want you cleaning. They just want you to relax and sleep, pretty much. You know what I mean?
They understand.
You can participate in the groups if you want to. But for the most part, if you're like, because most of us are coming off like heroin or fentanyl, you know what I mean, or benzos or alcohol.
Regardless of what it is, you're tired. I know that.
Or even meth. You're gonna want to sleep and rest for a while. You know what I mean, and they allow you to do that to where some places the first 3 days they're like, all right, come on.
Told you about the place that I went when I was 19. They made us walk a mile, even though we were walk a mile to a meeting every single day, in our pajamas, even though we were detoxing. It was terrible.
Yeah,
it was torture.
Yeah, and like I said, the detox that we were at, it was really, it's just they want you to rest and relax. They want you to regain, what is it? You're usually spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
Yeah. bankrupt.
damaged and
Yes,
bankrupt.
completely.
You know what I mean? And they want you to repair that, and that takes time.
It does take time, you know.
So time and
So
rest.
it starts with the physical part,
Yeah,
you know.
so,
Is it a medical detox?
Yes. So you get your medications if you're coming off of. I was coming off of fentanyl pills. You know what I mean? So they'll get you. They got a Suboxone. What was I do believe it was that day. Later on that day or the next day, they got a Suboxone right there. You know, to help us with our withdrawals. You know what I mean? They help you with. They'll give you medications for your anxiety. You know what I'm saying? It just
so they keep you comfortable.
yeah,
which makes it a lot
and
easier.
it's not overly medicated to where some places are like, oh well, here you go. You know, take 5 Xanax bars, bro. You'll be
cocktail
fine.
of pills.
You know, they'll help you get sleep medications if you're having trouble sleeping. You know, they work with you a lot, and there's usually a nurse there, the whole time.
I would imagine there's always a nurse there.
Yeah,
if you're
like
on
at
that
all
kind of
times,
medical
and
detox.
and you can call the nurse. You know what I'm saying? Because the nurse does have a time where she gets to go home. You know what I'm saying? Like, but everybody's.
But there's always a staff member.
Yes, there's
there's
always staff there. Yeah.
And so they're the ones that recommended you to Synergy?
Yes, they are. Yeah. They said this was a good program and that, you know, me and my fiance could be together because we work really well together.
So that's the thing that's kind of rare about Synergy, but I feel like we navigate it pretty well, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So because it can be tricky, you know, for somebody to open up in groups, for instance, or to have their autonomy in recovery, you know, when they're with their significant other. But on the flip side of that, it's comforting to have the support of your most prominent support system, right? Like it's nice to know that you guys are walking the journey together. And I mean, I feel like that gives you a lot more success or chances of success than one of you trying to get clean and the other not.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I'm pretty sure that she and I was probably worried about. Like, because if I were in a treatment to go to a treatment, or she was to go to a treatment, it'd be like, oh well, are they actually getting clean, or are they, you know, still using, or you know, what's going on, you know, and that's not the case. We're able to, you know, wake up next to each other every day, you know, which is and also comforting because I don't have hardly any family over here. You know what I'm saying? And I don't talk to the family that is over here. She doesn't have anybody over here besides me. So it's, you know, it's comforting having each other.
Sure.
Cool.
And, you know, the odds of you going home to somebody who's still active in their addiction and you staying clean and sober are very low, right?
Yeah, very, very low.
And so now at least if, you know, there was, you know, God forbid, a slip up with one of you, you would be in a safe, controlled environment. You'd be held accountable. You'd probably be holding each other accountable to some degree too, you know. And hopefully that if that happened, you would be able to get right back up on the horse and continue. Exactly. It's not like you lose everything you've learned if you have a slip. You know, it's
yeah, there's resources out here on top of that. You know what I mean? Like she's already on food stamps and all that stuff. So it's like, you know, there's resources out here as to where back home there's not really. There might be resources, but you're gonna be fine. You know, they're not as readily available as they are over here, and you guys pretty much give us the tools to find all that.
Nice. And so then, do you plan on looking for a job once you get to that point of your program?
Yeah. I'm gonna be looking for a job here shortly. As a matter of fact, we're already working on starting the whole job avenue.
Okay. And what do you typically do for work?
I can do almost anything, you know what I mean? But I like landscaping. That's my favorite thing to do. So we're gonna try to figure out something on the landscaping end. You know, we might.
There's lots of beautiful grounds around here. I mean, I don't think it would be hard to find work in that area. Huh?
Probably not. We're in LA.
There's so many pretty yards. Yeah, right. Well, good. So I'm glad you're here. I think you're a great asset to the community, and I look forward to working with you guys.
Same here.